Murder on the Orient Express, directed by Kenneth Branagh. He also stars as the famous detective Hercule Poirot. So the plot is Detective Poirot ends up using the Orient Express to get to the other side of Europe. So while on this trip through Europe, a murder happens on the Orient Express, and then it's up to him to investigate and try to find out who this killer is among all of the passengers on the Orient. So we've got a pretty impressive cast with some big names. We've got Willem, Dafoe, we've got Judi Dench, Johnny Depp, Pfeiffe. We've got, Daisy Ridley, that all of us geeks will know is Rey from The Force Awakens. And they all deliver pretty good performances. But there was one performance that I didn't particularly buy, and I'll mention that in a moment. But yeah, overall performance-wise, they deliver really good and solid performances. My only gripe is they're all very underused. You got the likes of Willem Dafoe, Judi Dench, talented actors, Michelle Pfeiffer, but they are very underused in this movie, and they didn't really get that much of a chance to shine and spread their wings. And when it comes to the weakest performance that I just mentioned, it actually comes from Johnny Depp, and I really felt like his performance was the weakest, and it was a very awkward performance. For example, there's a scene between him and Poirot, and it's basically just a conversation going on between these two characters, and it was just a very awkward scene to watch. Very hard to follow, and I think a lot of it I felt was down to the way he just delivered the lines, and it was just a very bland and flat performance. Yeah, maybe that's just me, I don't know. Any of you guys felt the same way and that have seen the movie? Let me know below. But yeah, just down to the way he delivered the lines, and it just felt very uninspired, not that motivated, and especially in that scene that I'm on about between Poirot and his character, Johnny Depp's character, it was just a very awkward scene to watch. Now, the character itself, the character that Johnny Depp plays, was a very interesting character, but I just didn't really buy the performance from Johnny Depp. I just thought, I don't know, his performance overall was just the weakest. Kenneth Branagh as Poirot, I thought he was amazing. I loved what he did with the character. I'm not one of these people who are going to compare him to David Suchet's portrayal of the character. Like, I'm aware of the show, and I've seen bits of the TV show, but not enough to sort of really compare or say. Because a lot of people have said that it's David Suchet's performance have really sort of overshadowed Kenneth Branagh's performance. But I can't really say that. I just really, really liked what he did with this character. I thought he was a very likeable character, and there were things that he did with the character that made me, as a viewer, feel very sympathetic towards the character as well. I really liked what he did. I ended up feeling really emotionally attached to the character, and I just very likeable, and it was just little things that Kenneth Branagh would do. Very sort of subtle sort of emotions, you could say, and just his mannerisms. And then, yeah, and like, again, I've never read the books either by Agatha Christie. I forgot to mention The Murder on the Orient Express is based off novels by the author Agatha Christie, and I've never read them, so again, I can't compare this to the novels. And if you guys read the book, is it better? Is it worse? Let me know below. So the film is shot on 65mm film, and it looks stunning. I absolutely loved the look and the feel of this movie. The cinematography is beautiful. It's a stunning movie to look at, actually. And for me, this movie did have a sort of epic feel about it, like an adventure as well. And even though it's all based, the majority of this film is based on a train going through Europe. So you're in this sort of one sort of a very tight sort of space where all of this story sort of unfolds and unravels. It still had that epic feel to it, and a feel of adventure. And there were some lovely aerial shots as well, as the train is travelling through Europe, through the mountains, through the snowy mountains, all of that, and it looked absolutely beautiful. And there was one moment at the end which is just one long take, And it's during the end of the third act, as the film is about to sort of as the film is about to finish, and it's just one long take. And again, the way it was just shot and the cinematography in that scene, it was beautiful. And Kenneth Branagh did a really good job at creating tension within this movie. And a lot of that is down to the fact that the majority of this film is based within the cramped sort of space of a train. You've got these sort of very sort of confined spaces, whether it be in the sleeping quarters or in the dining cart or in the corridors of the train. It's all shot within these spaces, and the way he shoots within these spaces that gives it that really sort of claustrophobic feel. And I felt he made some really creative decisions when it comes to shooting some of these scenes. For example, he shoots one particular scene from above, so you're watching this character doing what he's doing from above, and it really helps sort of create that claustrophobic feel, because you sort of got to work within a very sort of limited amount of space. And by filming this scene from above really helped enhance that tension and that claustrophobic feel, I felt. So yeah, I think they did a really good job just by certain camera angles and close-up shots, and I do felt by the way they shot this film really enhanced the tension and the threat within the film and made it feel really claustrophobic, and I liked that. I also found this to be a very emotional movie. It was a bit of an emotional ride for me. It touches on grief and loss, and that's all I'm going to say. And I found the deeper Poirot investigated and sort of found all this information, and all this information was starting to unravel as he's trying to find out who this killer is among the crew. The deeper he sort of dug, the more emotional I found it got. And yeah, it really pulled on the heartstrings, and I liked it, and I liked the way they did it as well. I also really liked the score by Patrick Doyle. I really liked the music in this film, and when you get that sort of reveal at the end, I'm not going to say too much because this is spoiler free, but when you get that reveal, it's also like a lot of pianos used, and it really made that scene for me very emotional. I think the music really enhanced the emotion during that scene, and it was quite powerful as well. But again, like I said, a lot of that was enhanced by the score. I really liked it. I've got a few negatives to say about the film. I have got a few gripes. Like I said, the movie does do a good job at creating tension and suspense. But then as soon as Poirot starts getting a lead onto who the killer might be, and it all starts to unravel, I did feel like the tension and the suspense started to they just sort of lost it a little bit. And as it sort of becomes clear then who the killer might be, it really does lose that suspense and tension, which I really liked. And as a result, it also becomes a little bit predictable, maybe. Like, obviously a lot of people have read the book, so they'll know what happens, and a lot of people have seen the TV show, so they'll know what happens. But I never have actually seen or read the book of the Orient Express, but I sort of seen it come in quite earlier on, and it would have been nicer, if it would have been a bit more of a reveal, and had kept the suspense and the tension right up into that very last moment. But you also get the emotional clout, and I like that. It did, for me anyway, it really sort of pulled on the heartstrings. I found it very emotional. Maybe I'm the only one, I don't know. Let me know below. But for me, even though you lost that tension and suspense at the end, it had that emotional clout, which I liked. And it was very thought-provoking as well. I felt like there was a lot of messages in this film that really made me think about certain things that I think of in life. And it did. It raised a lot of questions for me, myself. It was, for me, this was a very thought-provoking film. And it was a film that when I left the cinema, it was making me think. And so I liked it because of that. And I do feel like there were a few moments throughout the film that sort of lacked urgency when it was needed. And one of those scenes being, it's a chase scene, it is, on the bridge. And it was a scene that was supposed to have got the pulse racing. It was supposed to have been a thrilling scene, but I felt it was very sort of flat and dull. and it was supposed to create excitement, but it didn't really do that. So yeah, there were a few moments dotted throughout the film where I thought it should have been a little bit more, it should have had a little bit more urgency behind it, and just a little bit more thrilling. The CGI in the movie was okay, but at times felt a little bit too digital, a little bit too animated, and there were moments which reminded me an awful lot of the Polar Express. I don't know if that's just me, or did any of you guys think the same? Let me know below. So yeah, there were times where the CGI of it was a little bit too digital, and just a bit too animated. But overall, it looked alright, and especially the shots of the landscape as the train is travelling through Europe, I thought were beautiful. And it gives you that feel of adventure, as well as the fact that the character you're following, Poirot, you feel like as well that his character has gone on an adventure of a different sort of kind, an adventure within himself. So other than failing to maintain suspense and tension, this was an enjoyable experience. I did really, really enjoy it. It pulled on the heartstrings, and the first 2 acts for me were quite intense and suspenseful, and I just loved the way the movie was shot. The cinematography was beautiful, the score was really nice, the performances from all the cast, and a very impressive cast. They all gave really good performances, just a little bit underused, and they are interesting characters as well, and I wanted to see more of them, and I wanted to find out more about them. And you do get glimpses into their characters, and you do get glimpses of their pasts and all of that. I just wanted a little bit more from them. And when I say emotional, it was tragic, basically. It's got a very sort of tragic story, and it really touched me, and I did feel really emotional by it. It's not perfect, it has got issues, and like I said, I've mentioned some of the problems that I did have with the film. But when it comes to production design, music, performance wise, it was all pretty good, and yeah, it was an enjoyable ride. So yeah, I will be giving Murder on the Orient Express a B+. What did you guys think of Murder on the Orient Express? Let me know below, I'd really like to know. And remember, if you're like me and you share the same passion as me, then why not hit subscribe?